Good evening, and thank you everybody for tuning in to City Council on Monday, April the 13th, 2026. Please rise for the playing of the National Anthem and a moment of reflection. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to ask Councillor McPherson to read the land acknowledgement.
The land on which Council meets today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, and Attawandarong, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many Indigenous peoples made up of First Nation, Inuit, and Métis. The Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement should remind us of our responsibility to ensure the Dish, the territories on which we live and work, is never emptied, and that we take care of the land and its inhabitants in a way that ensures its future sustainability.
Thank you, Councillor. On to this evening's Mayor's Report. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in to tonight's meeting. A number of events have taken place over the last couple of weeks. On March 24th, I was pleased to attend the annual Top Hat ceremony celebrating the official opening of the 68th navigational season for the St. Lawrence Seaway and the Welland Canal. Niagara's marine sector plays a significant role in the local economy, supporting about 250 businesses, more than 5,000 jobs, and contributing over $500 million to GDP, with even broader benefits felt across the region. The canal remains vital to trade and to the flows of goods that move through this part of the country. Its impact stretches well beyond our city, but in St. Catharines, we see clearly the role it continues to play in shaping both our economy and our sense of place. So congratulations to everyone involved in the official canal opening, and we look forward to another safe and successful shipping season on the Welland Canal. At the end of March, I was pleased to join colleagues, community partners, and frontline leaders to officially open Niagara's Homelessness and Addiction Recovery Treatment Hub, located on Queenston Street. This is an important and long-awaited moment for our city, and I would like to thank the provincial government for this critical investment. The Heart Hub is a meaningful step forward, bringing together treatment, housing, and wraparound supports with a clear focus on recovery and community safety to help our communities most vulnerable. We look forward to what we hope will be many success stories that come from this much-needed resource in our community. At the end of March, I had the pleasure of attending the St. Catharines Boxing Club's annual Legends of Niagara boxing show. It was a fantastic night of amateur boxing featuring many young fighters from the SCBC. Thanks as always to Coach Bruce Greenlaw for the invite, and congrats to all the boxers on the ticket. I also had the pleasure of meeting Keaton Brugling and congratulating him on repping our city and the country at the most recent Winter Olympics in the bobsled. Earlier this month, I was pleased to be joined by the team from Autism Ontario to raise the flag at City Hall and to recognize World Autism Awareness Day. The flag raising is a reminder that inclusion isn't just something we talk about, it's something we practice every day, and how we support one another and make sure everyone feels that they belong in our city. Earlier this month, I also had the opportunity to attend the Lincoln and Welland Regiment Command ceremony, and I appreciate the invitation from Colonel Dyson. 2 weekends ago, I was pleased to bring greetings and welcome the athletes competing in the Dodgeball Provincial Championships taking place at Canada Games Park. It's great to see more than 300 athletes, coaches, and officials in town for the event. And thank you to Sport Niagara for hosting the event. We look forward to hosting many more dodgeball events in the future. As I keep saying, who knew it was that big of a sport? Last week, I visited Dennis Morris Catholic High School to speak with Mr. Russell's grade 10 students about civics and careers. It's always great to connect with students and talk about how local government works, what happens behind the scenes, and the different paths that people can take in public service. A big thank you to Mr. Russell for the invite. I also had the opportunity last week to join players, coaches, and volunteers of the Garden City Minor Hockey Association for their annual awards banquet to celebrate the 25-26 season. Congratulations to all of this year's winners, and thank you to all the coaches and volunteers who helped make the organization run. Last week, Councillor Stevens and I had the chance to visit the Symbotics team at Governor Simcoe Secondary School. This group of 29 students is currently ranked 15th in the world, with the World Championships coming up soon in Houston. I actually believe that ranking has gone up since the weekend. I also had the chance this weekend to attend the Niagara District Championship yesterday at Niagara College to cheer on both Governor Simcoe and Dennis Morris. And I'm starting to think that robotics might be my new favorite thing. Last week, I was pleased to join the Niagara Industrial Association for their annual general meeting. Manufacturing continues to play a big role in our economy here in St. Catharines, and there's a real momentum right now with growth in jobs, new businesses, and investment across the sector. I've had the opportunity to visit a number of manufacturing and industrial businesses across the city, and while I know it hasn't been easy, especially with the rising costs and tariffs, the resilience and innovation in this community really stands out. We'll keep pushing to support local businesses and make sure your voices are heard as we speak to upper levels of government. This past Saturday, myself and Councillors Phillips, McPherson, and Stevens took to the lanes in support of the YMCA's Move for Kids event. At this point, it just says in big, bold letters, enter gloating about your score. So I will simply point out that I won, and I won by a lot. I believe it was 171. I'm getting calls now from local bowling leagues asking me to come and join. The deputy mayor and I did actually tie in the second game. He was an exceptional bowler. I do simply want to point out that Councillor Stevens, after the first frame of the first game, came over to me and said, hey, it's the last place guy's turn to bowl, and that was me, and I took that personally. Do appreciate everybody who came out to support the YMCA of Niagara, though. Every dollar raised helps provide opportunities for children and youth to attend summer day camps, learn to swim, and take part in community youth initiatives. As part of my ongoing Marylinks visit, last week I had the pleasure of visiting Intuitive Shipping, located on Martindale Road. Since launching in 2017, Intuitive Shipping has helped online stores unlock fully customized checkout experiences, turning one of e-commerce's biggest friction points into a competitive advantage. And with $7 billion in sales conversion supported and 80% of their business coming from the United States, this locally rooted company is making a global impact, all from right here in St. Catharines. Congratulations to Sharon Green and Joel Reeds on the success of your business, and thank you for investing in St. Catharines. And I wanted to take a moment to give a special shout out to Connor Martin of St. Catharines. Connor's U12 AAA Southern Admirals team recently won the OMHA Championships. And although the team doesn't play out of St. Catharines, Connor is from St. Catharines, so I wanted to take a minute to congratulate Connor on winning the championship. A couple of upcoming events. A reminder that this Wednesday, April 15th, we'll be hosting a dual Ward Town Hall STC. This time for residents of St. Patrick's and St. George's wards. The doors open at 5 p.m. and the event runs from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Russell Avenue Community Center. We look forward to engaging with residents on Wednesday night. With the weather steadily improving, it is time for the city's tree giveaway, which will take place on April 25th from 8 to 11 a.m. at Lancaster Park. And starting today, residents can register online to claim a free tree to plant at home to help grow the urban forest in St. Catharines. You can check out stcatharines.ca/tree-giveaway for more information. And a reminder to save the date, Saturday, May the 2nd from 12 to 4 p.m. at Montebello Park, we will be celebrating 150 years of incorporation as the City of St. Catharines. This free, family-friendly event will feature food, live entertainment, and plenty of moments to enjoy with friends and family to celebrate our city. Stay tuned to the city's social media channels for more information. At this point, I will open the floor to any councillors who would like to add to the mayor's report. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank the residents who came out to the Facer Street discussion on the future of Facer Street. I know Councillor Stevens was there as well. I just want to thank them for coming out. I also do want to just take a moment that I was fortunate, well, maybe unfortunate, to watch the announcement of the appointment of making regional chairs appointed and giving them strong chair powers. I will just make a note that It was, it's horrifying to see the attack on democracy. Those positions should be elected, and what we've seen from the province, unfortunately, is that a lot of these chairs have a close relationship with the Premier and the Minister, and I just want to be on the record of saying that this is not democracy. This is very Trump-style politics. They don't belong in Ontario, and they don't belong in our local democracies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the second longest serving councillor representative on this council, I'm going to also respond to these changes, which are the most significant changes that we've seen since I've been around. And I wrote something up because I don't want to get off script here and get too emotional, but just the disrespect and the contempt that Doug Ford has shown for local democracy is summed up by him labeling us as turkeys. Turkeys, the Premier called us turkeys, locally elected representatives. I find it personally insulting and degrading to the many terrific municipal councils I have served with in the past and continue to work with today, who had the courage to allow their name to stand for election to serve their friends and neighbors in local government. In turn, is it a repudiation of the people in this community, the little guys Ford claims to care about. This council simply requested that any governance review include consultation with local residents so that they could have their voices heard and that it be based on facts, evidence, and thoughtful analysis. The precise opposite happened. No one was consulted outside of a few mayors. His own government's expensive study was buried and still hasn't been released. And as part of the charade, misleading documents with official city logos went out inferring that this council and other councils supported these draconian anti-democratic changes. The reality is this was entirely about circumventing the truth, and it is about serving Doug's well-heeled cronies and campaign contributors. These decisions by Doug Ford are self-serving to concentrate the power into the hands of a few mayors and a Niagara Regional Chair who will be appointed by him. This is a classic authoritarian play and contrary to the public interest.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to make sure everyone knows about tomorrow's community visioning open house for the Ontario Street Secondary Plan Corridor. Doors open at 5:30. It's at the Holiday Inn. Doors open at 5:30. The presentation will begin at 6. And then after the presentation, there will be an opportunity for smaller group discussions. I'm looking to Director Katay to make sure I get everything right. And I have to say, I attended the Neighborhood Advisory Committee visioning session, and it was really exciting and encouraging to hear the ideas that residents brought forth. And just, it was all about looking to the future and looking at the community as a whole. It was really great to see, and the neighborhood group is made up of business owners, residents, neighborhood groups, so it was a really great session, and I encourage people to come out and share their thoughts on what it is, on what they would like to see there. And then the last thing is on May 7th, so Thursday, May 7th, I'm just promoting the CMAJ Niagara is having their 15th annual fundraiser. It's called Wellness for All, and they have a speaker, and I may know the speaker fairly well. My partner Janice is the speaker. Not insisting that everyone need to go for that reason, but she will be speaking about her experience with bipolar disorder. But more importantly than that, I'm going to pay for that later, there is a paddle party, which is a fundraiser, and it's a lot of fun, and it raises money, and you can win some really great prizes. So I would encourage everyone to visit CMHA Niagara's website. The tickets are, I believe, $30 per person. So I encourage everyone to get out. They do incredible work at the CMHA, and they need as much money as they can get.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mako.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I try to use these moments to highlight all the positive community events happening in Port Dalhousie, but tonight I felt a need to highlight two examples of ongoing vandalism that are happening at two of our most important heritage properties in Port Dalhousie, the Lincoln Fabrics building and the old jailhouse. Many might be aware of the Lincoln Fabrics incident because it's hit the media, and thank you to Karina from The Standard for some great journalism to uncover what was happening there with damage to a transformer on the private property, which led to an oil spill. It's now in the hands of the Ministry of Environment, so I do want the community to feel safe that there's no immediate threat to human health or public safety, but very unfortunate that that occurred, and Councillor Williamson and I had been getting numerous complaints about the building being unsecure going back to March 6th that we had reported to city staff immediately after we heard. So I do want people to know that we have tried our best to escalate those incidences until an unfortunate incident happened with the transformer. Then there started to become incidents of vandalism at the old jailhouse, and I did print a number of photos which I handed around to our council colleagues so they're aware of the extent that's been happening there. And what's more frustrating at the jailhouse is that it's repeating night after night with sections of the roof being removed very frequently for only one reason we can think of, which is scrap metal. So we're not just talking about property damage, we're talking about stripping of our built heritage. And that's what's increasingly frustrating to the members of our community. They're taking pictures to document what's happening and sending them to us daily. So I just felt a need to bring that up so people are aware this is happening. I want to give some credit to city staff for acting quickly and increasing overnight patrols. Our local residents have even set up their own video camera to try and document what's happening and captured the individual at 3:32 a.m. on the roof. Police were called, but they did not respond in time, so no one's been apprehended yet. So I don't have any answers or solutions, unfortunately, but just for the public record, I wanted everyone to be aware this is happening. Port Dalhousie is such a beautiful place, and everyone's coming back as the weather brightens, and I would hate this to be the focus, so I hope we're able to find a solution. Until then, unfortunately, my wife says I'm not allowed to sleep in the bushes across and act as a vigilante Batman at this point, but until then, the more eyes on the property, the better, and if anyone sees anything, please report it to the authorities. These are community treasures that I hope last for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to pass on thanks from the Grantham Lions Club. Their Good Friday fish fry was well attended, and they ran out of fish by 5 o'clock, which was okay for them because they did buy extra fish, but it was a bonus to the Polish Society on Facer Street because everybody went there and they had a successful fish fry as well. So 2 wins there. The Facer Street redevelopment, it was a good turnout, probably and somewhere between 50 and 70 people. Stay on the city website because there's going to be more stuff coming. It was really good showing the input. This is going to be a great redevelopment for Facer Street. There's a lot of empty retail spaces there right now, and I think this will revitalize the area. It's a great heritage area with the different ethnic groups, and some of that stuff is gone. I think with the redevelopment, it's going to bring that street back alive again, so we're looking forward to that finally. And so good news there. And last Tuesday, St. Elizabeth Health opened a new office on Hiscout Street. They've been providing home care for over 100 years in Canada. And they opened up a new office there, and it was really nice to see that and meet some of the people there. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Lindell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to highlight a couple of things from the Junior Girls Badgers St. Catharines Female Hockey Association from this past weekend. The Ontario Provincial Championships were held this weekend, and the U22A team won a gold medal and will be moving on. And the U18A team are repeat winners. This is their second year doing it. That's a fantastic achievement, and it just goes to show how great an organization this is becoming. Girls hockey is really improving. They have great coaches, great managers, great team moms, great referees, great timekeepers, and our city staff at Seymour Hanna and Meriton Arena take good care of both of these organizations. So I want to congratulate everybody who made it to provincials, the House League teams who have their big championship weekend this weekend coming up, and if you want to drop by and see some great hockey, you should.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple notes. This is a little niche, but what I call Moffatt Island, Glory Hill, and Moffatt Street areas having neighborhood cleanup this Saturday morning. If anyone from anywhere is interested in heading over there and helping clean up Moffatt Island, so we're going to trademarking that. The second thing I want to note is that I've had a lot of people reach out about the consumption and treatment site since we discussed it at City Council. I did want to note that Residents who are interested and able can make donations to Positive Living, which could go towards keeping the consumption and treatment site open a little bit longer. That's at their website, positivelivingniagara.com. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no others, I will move now to the adoption of the agenda, and I'll ask the city clerk.
The following items of additional correspondence have been placed in Council Sugar Sync folder and will be on Council Correspondence listing published this Thursday. There's 2 items related to Agenda Item 8.1, which is the official plan review and conformity exercise. The first item is from Curtis Wiley, and the second item is from MHBC on behalf of Vacant Construction. And there's 2 items related to item 10.1, which is 40A Ellis Avenue and adjacent former railway lines. Those are from GSB Group Inc. and Leanne Saxton. Councillor Miller has advised that he would like council to consider a motion not appearing on the agenda regarding an invitation for Regional Councillor Bateman to present to council. Per council's procedure bylaw, section M6.4, unanimous consent is required to consider a motion not appearing on the agenda.
Right, so moving the motion is Councillor Miller, who is seconding the motion. Is Councillor Harris seconding? Okay. Councillor Townsend, for clarity, I know that the hope was that she'd be able to speak tonight. The motion would allow for her to speak at a future meeting as well, which she had indicated, I believe, that she wanted to do.
Okay. And if there's something I want to pull, when I do that now, to add for
We're going to
comments?
deal with this first, and then we can, okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So Councillor Townsend, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've had a few companies, local companies, reach out in regards to our Ontario Street secondary plan. And I have a few questions that, so if I can pull 6.1 and 6.2, because there is a proponent already announced, I believe this would have to be discussed in camera. I have some questions regarding, I guess, the process. And
Councillor, can I just add, 6.1 is about stop up, close, and declare surplus.
in correspondence, sorry, in correspondence, 6.1 and 6.2 in our correspondence list.
Okay.
I want to pull that just because I have 2 companies that have reached out asking about our process on it. And I believe because we already have a proponent that we've hired, it would probably have to be done in camera.
Okay.
If that, so I would like to add that, I guess, to
The in-camera agenda?
discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Dodge, Councillor Phillips, all those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes of March 23rd, 2026 and March 31st, 2026? Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Miller. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Motion to move the consent reports. The council approve the consent agenda, save and accept those items brought forward for discussion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Mako. I just need a mover, sorry. I will look to the clerk now to read the list of consent reports and call the recorded vote.
Today's consent agenda includes item 6.1, Economic Development and Tourism Services, stop up, close, and declare surplus a portion of Stephanie Street, road allowance, and transfer to 68 Newport Street. Item 6.2, Legal and Clerk Services, request to amend delegation bylaw number 2023-115, and that's related to Part M. Item 6.3, Legal and Clerk Services, restricted acts after nomination day. Item 6.4, Legal and Clerk Services, updates to the use of corporate resources for election purposes policy. Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
And Mayor Sisko.
Yes.
And that's carried.
On to 7.1, sorry, declaration to all presenters. Council chambers in all municipalities in our country represent the seed of local democracy. The many acts that govern us understand the necessity of the collective voice when decisions are being made to grow our spaces, pass our bylaws, and to seek opinions into very complex issues, ensuring safe spaces for all in our public discourse. We recognize the right of the majority to decide, the minority to be heard, the public to have an opportunity to participate, and all participants to be treated with courtesy and respect. It is imperative that elected officials, citizens, and staff have input, and it is paramount that we listen to one another and question one another, but that we understand we do this in a way that never undermines any person's ability or their dignity in our chambers. We respect the right for everyone to have an opinion and remind the audience views of the public do not always reflect those of the Corporation of the City of St. Catharines. On to item 7.1, Planning and Building Services. Planning Services Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw Amendment Applications, 101, 103, 105, and 107 Moffatt Street, 12 Arsenault Lane and Arsenault Lane right-of-way. Owner, Towns on Old Cannell Road, Inc. The purpose of this public meeting is to ensure that sufficient information is available for the public and council to understand the proposed applications and to provide the public with an opportunity for input before council's decision. If a specified person or public body as defined in the Planning Act or the registered owner of the land does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or written submission to council prior to council making its decision, they are not entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or written submission prior to the council decision, that person may not be added as a party to the hearing of any appeals by others without the permission of the tribunal. The public meeting will proceed as follows. Staff will explain the application. The agent will speak and council will have an opportunity to ask questions. Members of the public wishing to delegate were requested to register by 9 a.m. today. No delegates have registered to speak. At that point, I will ask if anyone in the gallery wishes to speak. The deadline to submit additional written comments was not previously published on the council correspondence listing was 12 p.m. today, and no comments were received. At that point, the public meeting will be closed. The council will be able to ask staff questions, and we'll consider the application. The public meeting is now open, and I now call upon Brenda Stan, the planner, to present.
Good evening, Mayor Cisco, members of council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Brenda Stan. I'm a planner with the city. I'm here to present staff's recommendation on the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications for 63 unit townhouses development located at 101 to 107 Moffatt Street, 12 Arsenault Lane and Arsenault Lane. The subject lands include several parcels including 101, 103, 105, and 107 Moffatt Street, as well as 12 Arsenault Lane and Arsenault Lane. The site is located on the west side of Moffatt Street, east of Highway 406. The surrounding lands includes residential and institutional uses to the south, detached dwellings to the north, Highway 406 to the west, and green space to the east, including the Merritt Trail. The proposal is for a private road development with 63 townhouse units. This includes 47 street towns and 16 back-to-back townhouse units. Access is provided from Moffatt Street through an internal private road. Each unit includes a driveway and garage. 16 visitor parking spaces are also proposed on the site. The conceptual elevations show the built form. The first set shows the two-story street townhouses. The second set shows the three-story back-to-back townhouses located internal to the site. The official plan amendment proposes to redesignate the lands to medium-density residential, while the zoning bylaw amendment proposes to rezone the lands to R3 medium-density residential with site-specific zoning provisions. The lands are currently designated low-density residential in the East Planning District. The official plan amendment redesignates the land to medium-density residential to permit the proposed townhouse development. The lands are currently zoned R2, low-density residential, traditional neighborhood. The zoning bylaw amendment rezones the lands to R3 medium-density residential and introduces site-specific provisions through Special Provision 194. The R3 zone permits townhouse dwellings and a private road development. Special Provision 194 are proposed to address the site layout. These include a reduced 2-meter front yard setback at 2 pinch points for Unit 1 and Unit 58 along the Moffatt Street frontage, reflecting the street alignment. A reduced interior side yard setback of 3.9 meters is proposed for Unit 63 along the east lot line. A reduced landscape buffer of 1.9 meters is also proposed along the east property line where a sidewalk is incorporated into the landscape buffer. Additional setback reductions are also proposed to accommodate the unique site layout. These include reduced interior side yard setbacks of 2.7 meters for Unit 13 and 4.4 for Unit 14. For Unit 10, a reduced setback of 1.5 meters is proposed for the dwelling and the adjacent parking area. Reduced setbacks of 2 meters are also proposed between certain dwellings and internal sidewalks for several units. Despite these reductions, adequate space for landscaping is maintained and the site functions appropriately. An open house was held on February 10th to present the proposed development. 2 residents attended. No additional comments have been received. The main concern raised at the open house was access and traffic due to the single entrance and exit to the neighborhood. A future secondary access connection is planned by the city, which is anticipated to be operational by 2028, improving access to the area. The residents also asked about timing of the development. The applicant advised that this will depend on approvals and market conditions. The residents who attended the open house indicated there is general community support for the development. A noise barrier is proposed along Highway 406 adjacent to the property boundary of the subject lands. Staff are satisfied that the comments have been addressed as outlined in the staff report. The applications were circulated to all relevant departments and external agencies, and no objections were received. Community planning staff have no concerns with the reduced setbacks, and the proposed sidewalk within the landscape buffer is acceptable. Final landscaping details will be confirmed through the site plan process. Development engineering staff have confirmed adequate sanitary capacity, and the required road widening along Moffatt Street will be addressed at the site plan stage. The Ministry of Transportation has confirmed compliance with the required 14-meter setback from Highway 406, and a noise wall will be provided along the MTO property boundary. Staff have reviewed the proposal against provincial and regional policy, including the provincial planning statement and the Niagara official plan. The proposed development is consistent with and conforms to these policies. In conclusion, staff recommend that Council approve the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Stan. At this time, I will call upon Nick Godfrey, the Senior Planner from Upper Canada Consultants, to present.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. I'm Nicholas Godfrey, Senior Planner with Upper Canada Consultants, and I'm here on behalf of the landowners, representing the landowners of the subject lands. I'm going to present a brief presentation regarding the combined official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for 101, 103, 105, 107, 12 Arsenault Lane, and the Arsenault Lane right-of-way. So as Brenda mentioned, the subject lands are approximately 1.4 hectares in size with an 80-meter lot frontage on Moffatt Street. The site has been assembled through a series of land acquisitions comprising 101, 103, 105, and 107, as well as 12 Arsenault Lane, and the Arsenault Lane right-of-way, which was stopped up and declared surplus by Council in late 2025. The area is surrounded by a mix of uses. There's traditional low density to the north. There's minor green space to the east, I guess east of the 406. To the south, there's local neighborhood institutional and residential. And to the west, sorry, I got east and west back mixed up there. To the east is minor green space, and the west is the Highway 406 and green space. So from a policy perspective, the portion of the subject lands that are subject to development applications are within the city's urban area boundary and designated as neighborhood residential and low-density residential in the city's official plan, and zoned as low-density residential traditional neighborhood under the zoning bylaw. So a review of historical aerial imagery from 1954 to 2024 illustrates the transformation of the surrounding area from a rural agricultural landscape to a fully built-out urban neighborhood. In 1954, you see the landscape is generally agricultural. East of the planned Highway 406 corridor is a thin ribbon of settlement along the existing grid. While west of the highway alignment is open farmland with almost no structures. By 2010, the transformation of the surrounding area is largely filling in. East of the highway, the residential fabric that now characterizes the neighborhood was largely in place. And so by 2024, the area is almost fully built out, and east of the highway, the entire area between the expressway corridor and the older street grade has been largely developed. And the former canal lands are there represented as a green ribbon through the area. So the transitional nature of this area is reinforced as well by the city's acquisition of lands to facilitate a secondary access connection between Abbott Street and Marshall Lane to the south of the Disher Street access. This planned connection reflects the city's own recognition that this area is evolving and will serve to further integrate the subject lands into the broader neighborhood street network while providing additional connectivity to the existing Moffatt Street residents. So the subject lands represent one of the last developable parcels in this area, and the proposed street townhouses and the proposed street townhouses and back-to-back townhouse dwellings are consistent with the incremental transition that has occurred here over the past several decades. As the surrounding area has evolved from agricultural land to a fully built-out urban community, the proposed development represents a logical continuation of that pattern, bringing the site into a productive use in a form that is compatible with and complementary to the adjacent residential fabric. So the development will include 63 townhouses, which are broken into 47 street townhouses and 16 back-to-back townhouses. We also propose to provide 79 parking spaces, and each townhouse dwelling unit will also have their own private driveway space, with an additional 16 visitor spaces that have been added throughout the development. In addition, each dwelling will also have a personal garage over and above the 79 parking spaces. However, these are non-compliant under zoning, but should the developer wish and the builder wish, these can also be brought into compliance for additional parking above and beyond the parking that's already being supplied. And access to the development, as mentioned, will be from Moffatt Street through the lands that were formerly the Arsenault Lane right-of-way. The internal site organization provides for a cohesive residential development with units oriented to face one another across a shared internal drive aisle in the amenity space, and amenity area. Units along the western property boundary benefit from deep rear yards, providing a generous separation distance from the Highway 406 corridor. The site design has been organized to provide also generous landscape buffers at all adjacent property interfaces, ensuring compatibility and transition with the surrounding residential uses. The proposed development will include, as mentioned, a mix of street townhouses and back-to-back townhouses. The street townhouses are approximately 2 stories, while the back-to-backs are approximately 3 stories. The site design also prioritizes a strong relationship with the public realm. Building facades front directly onto Moffatt Street, establishing a continuous street edge. A single consolidated access point minimizes curb cuts along the street edge, reducing vehicle-pedestrian conflicts, and maintaining a continuous sidewalk environment. Driveways and garages are located to the rear of the Moffatt fronting townhouses, eliminating front yard parking and ensuring the streetscape is designed by architectural detail and landscaping rather than asphalt. The space between the building facade and the sidewalk is preserved for pedestrian circulation and soft landscaping. The overall layout achieves efficient residential density while respecting the existing neighborhood character through consistent setbacks and perimeter buffering at all adjacent property interfaces, including residential to the north and institutional use to the south. The official plan amendment is required to redesignate the property to medium density to permit the required density of the 63-unit townhouse development. And the zoning bylaw amendment is required to rezone the property to site-specific medium-density residential zone. This zone will support the proposed street and block townhouse dwellings on the subject lands and establish site-specific provisions that respond to the irregular lot configuration and ensuring a functional and efficient development layout. Along with this, the application supporting studies were submitted, including a stage 1-2 archaeological assessment, functional servicing report, noise feasibility study, conceptual building elevations and floor plans, conceptual landscape plans, and a tree inventory and preservation plan. Overall, the studies concluded that there are no negative impacts associated with the subject lands, providing all the recommendations in the reports are followed. So in summary, the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment will facilitate the development of 63 townhouse dwelling units in a form that is compatible with and well integrated into the established surrounding residential neighborhood. The development balances the accommodation of prescribed growth targets, improves housing choices, and is an efficient use of urban lands with access to municipal services. As such, the site is a warranted and encouraged place for growth and development. And thank you for your time. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Godfrey, for the presentation. Is there any questions for Mr. Godfrey? All right, seeing none, thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
Is there anyone at this time in attendance who would like to speak on this particular matter? Anyone in attendance? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public meeting? Councillor Harris, Councillor Dodge. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Public meeting is now closed and council's called to order. Persons wishing to receive notice of council's decision should submit a written request to the office of the city clerk. Is there a councillor who would like to move the recommendation in the report? Councillor Miller, Councillor Lindell is second. At this time, are there any questions for staff? Councillor Lindell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is really nice development. It's nice to see one that's going to really fit into the neighborhood well and enhance the neighborhood. I have a question for staff. I'm not sure who can answer it, but I've had a lot in Meryton, a lot of developments where parking by construction workers on city streets has been a real problem. Is there a possibility of making a provision for the construction companies to not, it's really narrow, Moffatt Street is really narrow, to not be parking on Moffatt Street?
Thank you. Through the mayor to the councillor, staff are currently working on a construction management plan set of guidelines for all future developments to abide by in response to the concerns that we've heard from yourself and some other members around the table with active construction sites. As much as possible, we try to get trades and their supplies and their construction yards to be on site. Sometimes it does require some off-site parking, and that is where our parking bylaw enforcement would be required to ensure that people are abiding by our traffic bylaws. Public streets can be used by citizens, visitors, and trades, but they all have to abide by the same rules.
And will this particular development be part of the construction management plan?
Through the councillor through the mayor to the councillor, yes, that is correct. We implement the construction management plan through the site plan process. Right now, we're a step ahead. We're just at the official plan amendment and zoning consideration process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Williamson.
Thank you. Just concerned about the spelling of towns on Old Canal Road, spelled wrong. I don't know if there's not going to be a street named Old Canal in this development, is there?
Through the mayor to the councillor, we typically deal with private street naming through the site plan process, so any proposed street names would be vetted appropriately at that time.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yep.
And Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
And Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
That's carried.
Sorry. Thought that was on. 8.1, Planning and Building Services, Planning Act Special Meeting, Information Report, Official Plan Review, and Conformity Exercise. The purpose of this special public meeting is to ensure that the public has a preliminary opportunity to discuss the revisions that may be required to the Garden City Plan. The special public meeting will proceed as follows. Staff will explain the information. Members of the public wishing to delegate were requested to register by 9 a.m. today. One delegate registered to speak. At that point, after they've spoken, I will ask if anyone in the gallery would like to speak. The deadline to submit additional written comments not previously published on the council correspondence listing was 12 p.m. today, and 2 comments were received and placed in council sugar sync folder. After that, the special public meeting will be closed, and council will be able to ask staff questions on the official plan review exercise. Public meeting is now open, and I'll call upon Claire Semple, planner, to present.
Welcome, Mayor, councillors, and members of the public joining us today. As I've already been introduced, my name is Claire Semple. I'm a planner with the city. The purpose of this special meeting being held today is to provide a preliminary opportunity for the public to discuss possible revisions to the official plan that may be required. The official plan in the city of St. Catharines is known as the Garden City Plan, so those terms will be used interchanged. In the next few slides, I will also provide an overview of the scope of the official plan review and revisions, as well as the process and timeline. Revisions and updates to the Garden City Plan can be grouped into 3 categories. 1, to ensure consistency with the provincial planning statement and conformity with provincial plans. The provincial planning statement is a policy document on land use planning and also provides direction on matters of provincial interest. It was enacted in October of 2024, and it contains several policy changes which impact land use planning in the city of St. Catharines. The second area of revisions is to consolidate the Niagara official plan with the Garden City Plan. Last year, the Niagara region lost planning authority, so as a result, the Niagara official plan became an official plan of the city of St. Catharines. We have 2 official plans. Revisions to the official plan will incorporate the Niagara official plan policies with current Garden City policies by removing redundant or non-applicable policies, absorbing with appropriate modifications the most up-to-date policies. And then the third category of revisions include revisions to incorporate City Council directives, Mayor directives, and directives of council-approved plans. Examples of council-approved plans are the Transportation Master Plan, the Culture Plan, the Climate Adaptation Plan, etc. Revisions out of scope. What is outside the scope of the exercise is to consider site-specific designation amendments on behalf of private property owners. Although some properties may be redesignated through the larger review as part of an overarching consistency exercise with the provincial planning statement, as well as to fulfill objectives set forth by Mayor and Council. Regarding the timeline of the official plan and update review exercise, on April 2025, staff received direction from City Council regarding to initiate the review, as well as supported the objectives. Subsequently, we engaged with members of the public and the development community through various pop-ups to raise awareness. Today, we are at the legislative special meeting of council stage. Upcoming, the city will consult with technical staff, agencies, various stakeholders, and community members. The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing will also be consulted. In Q3, the city will be hosting an open house, and that will be an opportunity to provide feedback on draft policies. At the end of the year, staff will be sharing the final draft official plan for City Council's consideration. It should be noted that the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing is the approval authority for the official plan. The official plan would not be in effect until ministerial approval is received. Oh, one more. We can just put that page, that's fine. Perfect. As mentioned, there will be upcoming consultation opportunities. To follow along, please check in on the Engage STC page website with the link listed on the screen below. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Semple. At this time, I'll call upon William Highcoop, the planning manager from Upper Canada Consultant, to present.
Thank you and good evening. My name is William Highcoop. I'm the planning manager at Upper Canada Consultants. I'm here on behalf of two property owners, 2060 and 2126 First Street Louth, being the Woody and Penichetti families. I'm here to request consideration under the official plan review and conformity exercise as it pertains to their properties in West St. Catharines. We've had ongoing discussions with staff regarding this opportunity that this process presents, and wanted to bring this forward to Council's attention moving forward through the process. The specific location we are speaking about with respect to the official plan are listed above on First Street Louth and St. Paul Street West. The land is approximately 32.4 hectares, or about 80 acres in total size. Aside from the Stark Lumber and Hudson Welding facilities, the lands are currently vacant, however, are in the urban boundary. The lands were brought into the urban boundary with the approval of the first Niagara Regional Official Plan back in the 1980s and were part of the West St. Catharines urban expansion of the time. Historically, they were designated for traditional industrial uses. However, that policy framework was updated in OPA 26 in 2021 with a special policy that I will discuss briefly, but I wanted to mention that the lands are designated as a greenfield area slated for development and are not currently within a protected employment area under the Regional Official Plan or the PPS policies. The special study area in the city's Garden City plan right now designates the land as general employment. However, there are a series of policies that permit a mix of uses, being commercial, employment, office, residential, institutional, cultural, and community uses. Those uses are meant to be implemented through another secondary plan, even though it's in the existing Go Station secondary plan, but also includes a population-related job requirement at a minimum density of 48 jobs per gross hectare and a mix and range of housing types at a minimum density of 25 units per gross hectare. The policy framework that was adjusted in 2021 was a step forward, however, is still a challenge to implement on the lands. These lands are situated on the edge of the urban area next to the existing commercial uses along 4th Avenue that already accommodate a large number of population-related jobs, and therefore the lands are not well suited to provide the amount of jobs through other uses such as concentrated office or retail uses. We feel the lands are better positioned for a mixed-use development with a lower job per hectare requirement, and that would subsequently allow for much-needed housing to be provided. To give you an example of the thoughts we've had are twofold: a mixed-use commercial component and a residential component. Here you can get a sense of what we're looking to do, and that's by providing a mix of 3 to 4 story mixed-use buildings, and that would provide jobs in the commercial uses provided at grade, whereas residential uses would be included above. Through the type of built form, you can accommodate offices, small restaurants, cafes, and as well as hotels or long-term service or long-term care facilities. From a residential perspective, this would allow the balance of the site to accommodate medium density, missing middle built forms, such as low to mid-rise apartment buildings, various combinations of stacked or back-to-back townhouses, street townhouses, and perhaps some very limited low density housing, such as single detached dwellings on the transition to the agricultural interface. One of the things that the ownership group has done moving forward has been to investigate these uses and how they would lay out on the land. Through this process, they prepared the West Village Master Plan, and they've done this to illustrate how these types of uses can be developed within the key objectives identified here on the screen, and provide further details of what we are specifically looking for from a policy perspective. Here you can see a master plan concept illustrating how this area could be developed as a medium-density mixed-use neighborhood. This includes a main street and collector greenway, allowing mid-rise mixed-use buildings with ground floor, commercial, and residential above, and also provides for other job generation uses such as a hotel use or long-term care residence. The residential development fabric predominantly includes a mix of low-rise apartments and various forms of townhouses, which would be considered medium density. The plan also considers open space recreational facilities such as a trail network park location, and accommodates environmental considerations related to an existing watercourse floodplain, as well as a stormwater management facility. Overall, we feel the subject properties need a new direction based on this location at the edge of the urban boundary and the existing constraints with the surrounding land use designations, especially the existing residential designation to the south, which present concerns from a land use compatibility perspective and have a very high lack of demand that the owners have experienced over the last 40 years since it was brought into the urban boundary. These factors have all resulted in implementation challenges that leave the site undeveloped and underutilized after all this time. We feel that a mixed-use residential-based solution will allow, through an updated policy framework, will unlock the property's ability to develop moving forward. In conclusion, we respectfully request consideration be given to these properties through the official plan process, specifically to reduce the required jobs per hectare from 45 jobs a gross hectare to 10 jobs a gross hectare, allow the land use designation to be updated to a mixed use designation in accordance with the permitted uses, and as a result of that policy framework that's already within the Go Transit secondary plan, that same framework be applied to these properties. So that concludes my presentation, and I think why we're here tonight is we wanted to circle back on Council's direction that was provided last year in March of 2025, which directed the new official plan process to evaluate provincial employment targets and policies to determine if any employment land use conversion or target surpluses exist that can increase the residential development opportunities throughout the city. So this is the context in which we come to you this evening and really demonstrate the importance and the need of understanding this employment equation as we go through this process. So thank you for your time this evening, and I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hycoop. Mayor Cisco had to declare a conflict on this issue. Do I have any questions from council? Councillor Townsend, right? Sorry, Councillor Williamson.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through you to Mr. Hycoop. I'm quite excited to see this mixed-use plan focusing on 3 to 6 story mixed-use development. I think that's Joe. Is that Joe?
Yes, okay. I think so.
This is a model that's tried, tested, and true, worked in older North American cities and in a lot of European cities. So I hope that our planning staff gives it due consideration. It's also kind of a breath of fresh. I guess I'm supposed to be asking you questions. You're aware that we've had a number of ambitious tower proposals that sort of have languished. And so is this an opportunity to actually get something built, a better chance to actually see some work actually done?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillors. Yeah, so coming out of the OPA 26 process in 2021, it really opened the door to some residential uses on this land. Unfortunately, the owners at that time undertook an exercise to understand what exactly that meant. They ended up going to the market to see if a larger developer would come on board and ultimately purchase the properties. The existing landowners are farmers. That's been their background for a long time. However, the feedback they got was quite concerning in the fact that it would require a large amount of office retail uses, and it just was untenable in this location based on that broader 4th Avenue discussion. So we've come forward with this medium density plan in light of a lot of the market uncertainties that we're going through, and that is in part and parcel with the type of construction that it presents. Going something up to 6 stories allows you to go wood frame construction. It really gets those purchase prices for those end units down as much as possible. And personally, I feel like that's a big gap right now in the marketplace when you look at the price per square foot for high-rise buildings, concrete, iron, and when you compare that to a price per square foot from a wood construction perspective, you're talking of a very different price. So in order to make those super high density apartment buildings work, usually you have to keep on adding units so you get that break point. So that's why we've taken a different lens looking at this property. We're at the edge of the urban boundary, right at the transition to the agricultural interface. So all those kind of various factors have gone into this process. So we've had an opportunity to discuss it with staff. We're going to continue to have dialogue with them moving forward. So we'll see what happens at the rest of the process, but I think it's one of the, like I said, one of the things we wanted to really highlight to you, the importance of this process to get these employment numbers right, and it would certainly unlock this property moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Townsend. Which one?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I was recently in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they actually have this exact model. It's called Seaboard Station, very successful. Is this something that you guys have, like, obviously looked into that community and kind of decided it might be a good thing to do here? How did you come up with the concept? I know there are other American cities that do this, but it's been very successful in Raleigh. I'm wondering if you've looked into that one and other communities outside of St. Catharines that have done it well.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor. So we looked at a variety of examples, actually, and not that specific one that you're talking about, but one locally that we looked at a little bit closer is actually some of the newer development that's happened off Casablanca and Grimsby. Some of my experience has also let me work on planning files throughout the GTA. So I've really worked with the owners to glean a lot of the market feedback, but also in terms of what's tried, true, and tested in terms of what styles of development are of this nature are actually getting built and constructed. And that's something that myself personally, I focus on a lot, is looking at that end goal of not a pretty picture or utopian dream. Can we come in and actually implement this? Can the developers make a business case, get the financing from the banks, and bring it to fruition? So that's a long answer to say we looked at various examples to come forward with this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kushner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought we had resolved the problem in 1921, but I gather we did in part, but we also should have reduced the job requirements from, I think you said, from 45 to 10 jobs. Is that the only difference?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor, that is the main difference.
Right.
However, we are looking for a mixed-use designation as well instead of the general employment, just because the site-specific policies already allow for those. And furthermore, if we were to get that mixed-use designation, The subject lands are already within the Go Transit secondary plan. And so that mixed-use designation already has a policy framework, urban design type of stuff already in that. So we felt that that would be a logical step, addressing the job requirement, but also bringing in a already established policy framework to allow this property to open up.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, myself and Matt Harris would like to make a recommendation at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kushner. And I assume that you meant 2021, not 1921.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harris.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the presenter. I have a feeling that council seems to be very supportive of this. How do we, from a planning perspective, ensure this happens? What are the steps that need to take place, or how do we work this?
Through Mr. Chair to the councillor. So that's why I've started with staff. I've gone to them and had a number of discussions, and that is my understanding from them. I'll let them speak for themselves, but they are undertaking that employment job calculation exercise building on to the 2021 framework. So there is some differences in the PPS in terms of how jobs are counted now versus how they were counted back in 2021. So the devil's really in the details of that process. And so that's something outside of obviously my control or the owner's control. And I think it just speaks to a larger citywide issue. And I think this specific example demonstrates the challenge to go through and get some of these sites moving. So I know it's not just this site that are probably experiencing the same conundrum, but overall, that's an answer I can't give you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kushner indicated that he had something he wanted to further you, and Councillor Kushner, would you like to go forward with that? Councillor Harris?
I guess perhaps, and hopefully Councillor Kushner is listening, that maybe we can wait to put a motion forward, because we'll get some clarification from staff after this speaker.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Haiku. Interesting project. Can I have a motion to close the public meeting, please? Councillor Dodge, seconded by Councillor Harris. Motion that council close the legislated special public meeting respecting the information report, official plan review, and conformity exercise. All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing none. So that's declared carried. Public meeting is now closed and council is called to order. Persons wishing to receive the notice of council's decision should submit a written request to the office of the city clerk. If there is a councillor who would like to move the recommendation in the report. Councillor Harris?
Perhaps, once I move this, can we actually speak to it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Who just said yeah? Okay, sure. I guess I'll move it, and seconded by Councillor Kushner.
Seconded by
Yes.
Councillor Kushner, yes.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to add to that, and that the 3 requests by the proponent be adopted.
Could you explain that, Councillor Kushner, please?
Okay, if you could bring it up, was brought up a few minutes ago, the conclusion.
Staff.
It was the conclusion by the proponent, yes. It's reduction of the required job requirements from 45 jobs to 10 jobs per hectare. Second, an updated mixed-use designation in accordance with already permitted uses. And thirdly, no further secondary plan allowing GO Transit secondary plan framework and policies to apply through a mixed-use development. And as already stated, Mr. Mayor, we've got all the property zoned in the city proper, and nobody is building. And this is somebody who's willing to build, and therefore the request should expedite that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harris?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I totally agree with Councillor Kushner. I'm just wondering, does this have to, like, as part of this whole process, I'm going to look to planning, can we do this, and can it be specific to that site as part of the plan review? Because if we can, we might as well do it right now.
Director Cote?
Thank you. Through the chair to the councillor, the purpose of tonight's special meeting is to clarify scope of the official plan review. I'm going to go back a little bit to OPA 26, and actually before that to 2017, when council directed staff to undertake an employment land conversion exercise by way of a land needs assessment through a municipal comprehensive review. A lot of different layers of provincial plans were reviewed at the time, as well as undertaking consultant work, coming forth to council with what eventually became Official Plan Amendment 26. This was all precipitated by council's push to redesignate 282 and 285 Ontario Street to mixed use from employment. Where we were at that time for a conformity exercise is that by removing the employment designation from 282 and 285 Ontario Street meant that those employment targets needed to be applied throughout the city and other areas. At that time, we had 10 property consolidations come forward asking for relief from that, including 2 of the persons who provided correspondence tonight, one being the presentation, another being the correspondence in there. What we have committed to Mr. Hycoop, as well as Rankin and others who have come forward, is that council has already directed us to look at this. Mr. Hycoop referred to council's motion from March 2025, which said that in our review to look at other opportunities for employment employment target recalculations to find other sources of residential opportunities. And we are doing that. That is within scope. As far as the requests that are on the wall right now, these are already part of the scope that council has approved. The mayoral direction asked staff to find opportunities for red tape reduction, to collapse some of the designations that we're looking at. So we are already doing that as part of scope, and that does not require further direction from council today. The request for reduction of required job per hectare requirement from 45 jobs per hectare to 10 jobs per hectare on this site. Should council direct that at this time, what would be required is direction on where the other 35 jobs per hectare will be applied in the city, knowing that we also have requests from the landowner at Martindale and the QEW, and Broadway and some others, as well as the 282 and 285 Ontario street lands. So we're not at a place, we haven't finalized the analysis at this point to come forward to council with a recommendation as to where these extra targets would land in the city, but we are looking at the requests that we've received to date because council has already directed us to do so.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I guess the reason I'm asking is because this site, this is the second time they've been to council. I'm sure they've been to council in the past too, when I wasn't a councillor, but it's kind of the most ideal site in the city for a residential development. And it seems like we keep pushing it down the road. And I guess my question is, what happens if, say, the GM site, someone comes along and decides they want to put a data center on the one side and it stays industrial or employment? And then we don't have to worry about those numbers, do we?
Through the mayor to the councillor, the 282, 285 lands are currently still zoned industrial. So to your point, you're correct. If we received an application tomorrow for an industrial use that met zoning, we could go through the site plan process, and that would create some surplus targets that we would be able to then apply across the city and other locations that made sense. That being said, we are also undertaking the Ontario Street Corridor secondary plan process, where we've been directed to look at mixed use and residential land uses on those properties, as well as finding additional residential opportunities as well. So there's still the math that needs to be done through this process.
So I guess through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the Director of Planning, so we're holding off hoping something happens at GM, which might impede this whole idea of developing it with 10 jobs per hectare, because we're worried that that might affect our numbers, because GM might eventually become mixed use, which might not be developed for like 15, 20 years.
Through the chair to the councillor, in November 2020, when council approved official plan amendment 26, 282 and 285 Ontario Street were redesignated at that time. So there are still employment targets for the 282, 285 lands that they have to abide by as well.
Okay, I guess just one last question through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. How do we guarantee that this happens as a council? Because everybody seemed to like the plan. I'm just wondering, what do we have to do? Like, how do we get it done?
Through the chair to the councillor, we will be coming forth with a draft set of policies in this regard in Q3 of this year. And at that time, we will have conducted the analysis of if we have any extra employment lands and where employment targets, and where they can be attributed through the site. And at that time, council can make a decision on whether or not, first of all, if there is a surplus, and second of all, where that surplus should be applied, also following that we've received direction on other properties.
So the direction right now would be that this is included in your report?
Through the chair to the councillor, this is part of our scope already.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Williamson.
We've got a presence on social media. Are we making efforts to reach out to community organizations, environmental groups, et cetera? And because this is, okay, I'll leave that as my first question. Go ahead. Thank you.
Through the chair to the councillor, subsequent to this special meeting, we will be rolling out a public consultation plan, which will include both in-person and online opportunities to various groups. It is certainly our intent to send the message as wide as possible.
That's great, thank you. And so the Niagara official plan, it basically disappears once the local tier municipalities come up with their updates, or what actually happens to the Niagara official plan?
Through the chair to the councillor, right now the Niagara official plan has been downloaded down to the municipalities. So when we review development applications, we have to review it through the eyes of the Niagara official plan as well as the city's official plan. The Niagara region official plan, when it was approved in 2022, encapsulated all 12 of their municipalities, most of which being suburban or rural, not a lot having an urban intensification perspective through it. So we are reviewing the Niagara Regional Official Plan, and we are taking the policies that would apply to the City of St. Catharines, as well as those that would be in an alignment with the directions that Council and the Mayor has given us in terms of review, while we're also looking at provincial plan conformity with the new provincial planning statement.
So it will stay in force, or will it eventually disappear?
Through the chair, at such time that the province approves our final official plan, at that time it will no longer apply to the City of St. Catharines.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ratzlaff.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to comment on the presentation and the report here. And just, I think it points out how important it is to be careful when we're going through the process of designating, looking at how we designate different uses around the city, because, yeah, we do have to be careful that we don't get in a situation where we have to find more employment land, and that ends up being on the former GM site. We have heard from residents that we want that site cleaned up, and if it continues being employment land, then it won't be cleaned up. And that's partly why we're doing the Ontario Street secondary plan. But I do think that there most likely are other sites around the city where it makes more sense to increase the employment use percentage on those lands, so that we can find, or we can open up land around the GO station to increase the residents that live around that area, because that makes a lot of sense to me. So I agree with Councillor Harris that I think that the neighborhood and the plan that we saw before us a second ago is a good one and makes sense. But I do think that it's worth being careful about where we take employment lands from, and be careful where they're going to end up, because, like I said, we want the former GM site to be cleaned up and to be mixed residential, and we want to make sure that at the end of the day that's what happens.
Is there a question at the end of that?
Does it have to be a question?
Should be.
I thought this was a statement on the recommendation.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Councillor McPherson. Oh, sorry.
That's good. Thank you, Chair. A question I have for, the Director of Planning or any of the wonderful planning staff. Could you explain who sets the employment numbers for the city and the region, and kind of, could you just explain that? Because I think there's some not confusion, but there's like some not understanding that how it works. So could you just explain how that works and who sets the policies and the numbers?
Thank you. Through the chair to the councillor, at a very high level, the province set the targets and provided them to the region, both for population and jobs growth, gave it to the region. The region then disseminated targets down to the local municipalities. The local municipalities get to decide where it's appropriate to attribute those targets to.
Okay, so at this moment, based on what has been sent down to us, and correct me where I am wrong, because I'm sure I'm wrong. So based on what the province sets that came down to the region, it's up to us, as a city, to then determine kind of where these plans are. But we can't change, we can't just say, we're not going to go with that target. We think this is what the target should be.
So through the chair to the councillor, that's correct. The major theme with this conformity exercise is that it's a conformity exercise, that our official plan does demonstrate conformity with provincial plans and provincial targets. That being said, how we got here, the province had set targets to the previous growth plan. The city was actually doing our land needs assessment and our municipal comprehensive review first. So we used the numbers that were in the provincial growth plan to set our own numbers in 2026. Those numbers were then provided to Niagara Region to do their official plan in 2022. Those numbers, both through OPA 26 and through the region's official plan, were yet again confirmed by the province through the approval process and through the tribunal process.
Okay. Okay. So I thank you very much. I mean, I think the plan that was shown was a really great plan, but I think, as my ward mate has said, we have to be careful. I know about where we're moving the lands to, because we have the GM property, and yes, it will take a very long time to develop, But there's also cleanup that needs to be done and the community wants done and won't necessarily be done to the level that the community would like if the land is not residential or mixed use. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harris, I will allow you to speak one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I understand that there's levels of employment land, there are jobs per hectare. Have you ever been approached, or has anybody ever, other planners or developers in the St. Catharines suggested that their lands be designated employment? So perhaps you could shift jobs from different sites? Because I'm not asking to, remove all the employment things, just like a reduction and perhaps move it to other sites.
Through the chair to the councillor, I'm only aware of one application that we've received where someone has sought to rezone lands to employment. And those were commercial lands to employment on the north side of the QEW in that vicinity. And that will be considered as we do our new number crunching to find out where, if we have any surplus employment targets and where we can apply those to, knowing that we also have other areas of interest that are also requesting reductions. So when we come forward to council in the fall, we will have a recommendation on as to if we've been able to find any target, any employment target surpluses and where would be most appropriate for them to be attributed to, and this council will have a decision to make at that time, but it's certainly within scope.
Perfect, thank you. I guess, Mr. Deputy Mayor, just so I'm crystal clear, could I perhaps add a direction in there that those lands that were mentioned, just so I'm clear that it is going to be considered moving forward?
You've already been told by the director
I'm just,
that
since it's my motion,
that it is going to be considered.
Since it is my motion, I'm going to ask to put it in there. Well, I'm going to put it in there because it's my motion, right?
Okay.
So.
You can put it in. Friendly amendment, I guess. Would you like to word that for the clerk, please?
Would it be that the request from the delegates be considered in the scope of the work?
Yes.
I'm looking at staff if that is also in line with. I'm seeing a nod.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that the scope of the official plan review also considered a request from the delegates. Delegate.
Is that satisfactory to you, Councillor Kushner?
Yes, but I would still like to speak to the amendment that I made.
You want to speak to the, well, we don't have an amendment on that you made on the list, Councillor. This is.
No, I did. I suggested that the 3 requests be approved, and I'd like to make a change to that.
You'd like to make a change to that?
Yeah, to send a positive signal.
Okay, how is it going to differ from what Councillor Harris just said?
Would be that we approve those conditions subject to staff finding another appropriate site for employment.
Clerk?
Through the chair, maybe look to planning, but I don't believe you can amend the official plan without notice. So that would not necessarily be appropriate tonight.
Director Kate?
Through the chair, that's correct. There is not currently an official plan amendment in front of council for consideration. What is in front of council for consideration is the scope of the exercise, and Councillor Harris's amendment ensures that the delegation tonight is considered in the context of that review.
And Councillor.
Okay, and the question I ask of staff, I recognize that the provinces determine the requirements for us, but I think as we move forward, we have to consider the regional plan. And as I understand, there's all kinds of available employment lands in the region. So perhaps we can take a regional perspective. or does the province permit us to do that?
Director Cathay?
Through the chair, the province does not permit us to apply our employment targets to other properties. That was the purpose of having a Niagara Regional Official Plan, was to apply targets region-wide. And now the province has decided that regions no longer have planning responsibilities and that the lower tiers must absorb the responsibilities of their own official plans. So unfortunately, we cannot attribute our employment targets outside of the boundaries of the City of St. Catharines.
Right. So the question I would ask, what about the other cities in the region? Would they prefer to have higher employment lands? Are we aware of that?
Director Cathay?
Through the chair to the councillor, every single lower tier municipality in Niagara is currently going through either their own official plan review right now or rewriting their official plan in its entirety. They will also have to demonstrate conformity with employment targets for provincial conformity reasons. I'm not aware of any that are seeking to upsize or oversize their designations at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we'll move to, oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Stevens. Or I'm sorry, Councillor Dodge. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I just have a question about and this would be to planning staff, with the, I guess, his amendment. Would we need to be putting in, like, the other employment lands that are asking for similar request, that they be included in that amendment?
Director Cathay?
Through the chair to the councillor, at this time, two persons have come forward seeking review of their employment land designations. So that's from the consolidated group that you've heard from this evening, as well as the correspondence in your sugar sink file for the Rankin lands in the vicinity of Martindale and the QEW.
Okay, so we've had occasion to speak about an area that we have in our neighborhood that we've been waiting for this to happen and for them to be in consideration. So do I need to ask for that to be put in here specifically for consideration? And you did mention them already when you were speaking earlier. And if that's the case, I'd like to do that as well.
Through the chair to the councillor, should council wish to change the scope of the official plan review, now would be the time to do so. That's the purpose of the special meeting.
Okay, then I'd like to add that. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Broadway site, Broadway Gardens. Colonial, do I need to give you the specific?
Colonial Florist?
Yeah, do I need to say that specifically, or?
What's the exact term of the site?
So through the chair to the councillor, the scope that was under consideration tonight was specific that staff would not be considering site-specific official plan amendments on behalf of private landowners. The two that I have spoken about already who have been seeking amendments have been to designations that incorporate more than one property. That being said, should council wish to put forth a specific address for an employment conversion because it's part of an overall employment conversation, staff will accept that direction as part of the review. However, it would be within the context of the employment land exercise and not a site-specific official plan amendment.
Councillor?
Okay, so is that the best I can hope for then, I guess? Like, okay.
Okay, thank you.
So do we put anything up in there, or how does it work now? Sorry for clarification.
Director?
Through the chair to the councillor, it would be your motion to be put forward to be voted on by your council colleagues.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So then I would ask that they be included in this scope of investigation under the official plan or whatever, and
Okay. But we need a, are we going to go, yeah, you need to be site-specific on that. So-
okay, so that would be in Colonial Florist,
Okay,
East Port Weller, on Broadway, right? It's Broadway?
yes. Okay. Did you get that?
Yeah, that a previous request from Colonial Forest be included in the scope of the official plan review.
Okay. Okay, what do I have next? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I almost forgot what I was going to say now, but hang on a sec. To Director of Planning and Building, some of the councillors here were asking some questions about the employment properties and that. And correct me if I'm wrong, did we not just redesignate or something, the whole Bunting Road and Dieppe properties to change the commercial, industrial, employment zone and that? We only did that a few months ago, is that correct?
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, that was part of the response I had given Councillor Harris earlier, that there's only been one application that I'm aware of in recent times where a property has sought to go from a different use into employment. That being said, the underlying commercial use still has employment targets associated with that as well. So there's 4 different buckets employment targets fall under. It's core employment, core employment, rural employment, population employment, and other general employment uses. So there's 4 different buckets that we have to attribute to those areas. So that property stayed commercial, but added industrial uses to it.
So very much like what council's been asking, how areas can be shifted and changed from a designate. If we're taking away from one to add to another, and basically we've kind of done that with that particular area, somewhat. A little bit.
Through the chair to the councillor, yes, but it's still considered population-related jobs. So when we're doing the math, then we'll have that as newer information available to us. I'm not sure that it's going to be enough to cover off all of these requests that we're hearing about, but any surpluses that become known to us, we'll bring to council's, bring forward for council's consideration.
All right, thank you.
It is unheard of, Councillor Harris.
So, there we go.
No, you got that. You very rarely not speak.
Yep.
But anyways,
Through you,
go ahead.
Mr.
One quick question, you promised.
One quick question, without a follow-up, too. Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the Director of Planning. Have there ever been a municipality that has challenged the employment numbers?
Through the
Not
chair
sure
to
that has anything to do with the topic at hand.
Well, yeah, because I just want to see if it's possible.
So through the
Oh, that was
chair to the councillor, it's our official plan that must be in conformity with the provincial plans, and the province approves official plans. So if the cities or lower tiers, or if any official plan goes to the province and it doesn't conform to those targets, then the province doesn't approve the document itself. So we put forth what we believe are our employment targets, our appropriate employment lands that meet those conformity tasks. The province has to approve it. If we don't, our official plan gets sent back. Where the challenging takes place is typically through site-specific official plan amendment processes that are driven by proponents who are seeking to change those, and that test, and if they meet the test of the official plan, or whether or not it's tested again in front of the tribunal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director, and we've learned a lot about planning this evening. Seeing no other councillors wishing to speak, the recommendation is as goes. That report, PBS 055-2026, regarding Planning Act Special Meeting, Information Report, Official Plan Review, and Conformity Exercise, be received for information, and that the request from the delegate be considered in the scope of the official plan review, and that the scope of the official plan review also consider an employment land conversion for 58 Broadway, Colonial Florist. To the clerk for voting mode, please.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Phillips.
Yes.
And that's carried.
Thank you.
All right, presentations, there are none this evening, so we move to 10.1, planning, actually, sorry, before I go any further, I should verbally declare my conflict of interest. When this topic came up previously, I declared a conflict of interest with respect to the property that Mr. Highcoop was referring to, and that was on a suggestion of the Integrity Commissioner, given a pecuniary interest between my Chief of Staff and the proponents. And so I declared a conflict of interest again in this situation, as I felt it was prudent to continue to follow the Integrity Commissioner's advice. 10.1, Planning and Building Services, Planning Services Applications to amend zoning bylaw 2013-283 in the City of St. Catharines official plan subject lands 40A Ellis Avenue and adjacent former railway lands. On March 9th, 2026, Council held and closed the public meeting, and the staff recommendation was moved by Councillor Harris and seconded by Councillor McPherson. That motion is still on the floor with the same mover and seconder. The report was referred back to staff to provide details on what would be included in the Woodland Enhancement Plan under the Endangered Species Act, Ontario, and the proposed relocation plan for the endangered species. Staff prepared a memo in response to this request. Council have also received 2 additional pieces of correspondence. So the motion returns to the floor. At this time, generally in a situation like this, we would only allow councillors who had not spoken the original time to speak. However, I think we had made the decision at the last meeting that we would allow all councillors an opportunity to speak a single time this meeting. So if you spoke in the last meeting, you are still able to speak in this meeting. And with that, I will open the floor to any questions or comments. Councillor Lindell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to city staff. In the report, after we had our meeting, there are a couple of different things added, I guess, after questions were asked, and one of them is about traffic flow. My question is sort of a statement at the same time. If we're adding 506 units to this area, how can we know or not know that traffic is going to be okay in that neighborhood? How can we know or not know that it's going to overload down Ellis Avenue to Phelps Street? And beyond by the way, thank you to Transportation and Director Martuccio's staff for getting the light at Oakdale fixed, but how do we know that with the bridge coming off Moffatt Street, a new development that we just said yes to on Moffatt Street, and Oakdale having over 600 new or 900 new units at that end, how do we know we're not going to overload Oakdale and it's going to be okay to get on and off that neighborhood?
Through the mayor to the councillor. So we do rely on the traffic impact studies that are carried out by the developer. However, we are also aware of what our current level of service is on those streets, and they currently do have sufficient capacity from the data that we've seen to date.
I didn't hear you. Motorcycle?
Sorry. We do know that they have sufficient capacity from the data that we have seen to date for the additional vehicles that are going to be put on the roads. It is reliant on the traffic information that we received to date for the proposed developments.
A second question, in the report, you say the development may create additional operational pressures with increased stormwater runoff and higher sanitary flooding possible in the neighborhood based on current infrastructure. How can we fix that before the development is done?
Through the mayor to the councillor, the development is required to carry out functional servicing reviews, and if cannot proceed without proper capacity within the existing infrastructure.
And one final question before I say something. I just want to be reminded, these are condominiums that are being built, right?
Through the mayor to the councillor, at this time, there is no condominium application in. A condominium is the tenure of ownership. We don't have that application. I believe that is the intent, but until that application is received and processed, that's just simply not set in stone, but yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to say again, I don't believe this amount of development is needed in this area. We're supposed to be developing in neighborhoods, and I understand that we have to build up because we have limited space, but we should also be mindful of the people who are currently living in that neighborhood. And as it is, somebody's put up their house for sale on Ellis Avenue, and they're taking a marked loss in their home to sell it because of the development and what's happening at the other end of the street. The problems that they've got with the dirt, the contractors, and it's just going to become 10 times worse. I don't think 506 units is a fit in this neighborhood. I am not against building. As we can see, I've been very vocal about some developments that are already happening in Meriton. But in this particular instance, I don't think this is a development that should go forward. And at the very least, please do not remove the holding provision if it's decided that you want to keep going on with this. But I really hope that you don't.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I just, I'm going to just mention I'm not in support of this. I do have some concerns about the woodland piece to it, the removal of 188 trees, the species. I won't be supporting this, and I think that there's other areas where these types of units could be built. Yeah, that's my reasoning for not supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, seeing no other councillors, we will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge.
No.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
No.
Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
No.
Councillor Phillips.
No.
Councillor Townsend.
No.
Councillor Williamson.
No.
And Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
That's carried.
Item 10.2, Planning and Building Services Bylaw Enforcement and Licensing, creation of a new vacant building security bylaw and a dedicated downtown bylaw enforcement officer. Prior to discussion on the report, I will call upon Paul Chidoba, the manager of bylaw enforcement, to provide introductory comments. There are some technical difficulties, so we are just waiting for those to be cleared up.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor. We're having a connection issue. We're just waiting for it to come up.
That's okay. Mr. Chudoba, you ready?
I am, Your Worship. Thank you. My apologies for that. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, members of the public, both in chambers and viewing online. Before council today is a report that seeks council's approval to strengthen the city's ability to address a growing number of vacant building violations and associated public safety risks where serious incidents have occurred. It recommends enacting a new vacant building security bylaw coupled with enhanced enforcement tools such as administrative monetary penalties to ensure faster and more effective compliance. Key changes include significantly reduced timelines for securing properties and clarity on owner responsibilities for vacant buildings. To support implementation, the report proposes a 2-year pilot program that adds 1 full-time bylaw enforcement officer dedicated in the downtown and 1 full-time supervisor to support existing and expanded operations. This additional capacity is necessary to respond to the increasing service demands, accelerate compliance timelines, and proactively address properties that generate public complaints in the downtown core. The pilot is designed to have a no net tax levy impact over its 2-year duration. Year 1 costs would be fully offset through reallocating previously approved funding, while Year 2 would be supported through reserves in the Downtown Stabilization, Safety, and Reinvestment Plan. Longer-term funding implications and retaining the vacant building security bylaw along with the dedicated downtown bylaw enforcement officer and bylaw enforcement supervisor would be brought back to council for consideration near the conclusion of the pilot program.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chudoba. Prior to discussion on the recommendation, council will hear a delegation from Kat Dodge, the Executive Director of the St. Catharines Downtown Association.
Up here? I'll just do it like this. Right? Is that too high? I don't know, it feels good. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. On behalf of the St. Catharines Downtown Association, I want to thank staff for bringing this forward. The vacancy bylaw, and for the continued work to address the vacant buildings in the city. We recognize it's been a long-standing challenge, and we appreciate the effort that's gone into developing a response to a difficult situation. My comments tonight are focused on the implementation of the downtown coverage and how this might be experienced in practice by our businesses and property owners in high-activity areas like the downtown. We all want a city that feels clean and safe and well cared for. That experience shapes how people spend their time in our community, how businesses operate, and how our investment decisions are made. A well-maintained streetscape supports confidence, activity, long-term growth, and helps protect overall property value. With a dedicated bylaw presence in the downtown and surrounding areas, there is an expectation of increased attention to property standards. And while that is important, implementation should reflect the realities of ongoing and unpredictable issues that are more frequently experienced in the core. We are hearing from businesses who have actively maintained their properties but are managing repeated graffiti and vandalism and find it difficult to respond within short timelines. In one recent example, a long-standing downtown resident owner who is constantly maintaining their property was issued a fine related to graffiti after a short compliance window, and despite regularly addressing repeated incidences at that exact same location. In this case, it was not a matter of willingness to comply, but the challenge of keeping up with something that occurs frequently and can be impacted by timing and external factors. From our perspective, this highlights the importance of pairing enforcement with clear communication and education. It also creates an opportunity to improve access to support such as the graffiti program, which may not fully reflect the ongoing and repeated nature of these challenges, and an opportunity to explore additional ways to assist with reoccurring challenges such as vandalism, damages, and related impacts. We would also like to welcome ongoing communication and an opportunity for the BIA to be part of any review processes as it moves forward. We are well positioned to provide real on-the-ground feedback from many businesses and property owners choosing to invest in our city. So as we prepare to welcome 300 Main Street leaders from across Ontario next week, this work helps position St. Catharines as a city that actively invests in a strong and vibrant Main Street. And we look forward to continuing to work together to ensure that supports our both public safety and a vibrant investment in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat, for the presentation. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Kat, for coming. Appreciate always seeing you. Often. In a good way. Not, that sounded bad. Anyway, is there, with regards to the graffiti program, would you or the BIA like to see more investment, financial investment in our graffiti program, or is it just a communication issue that you're looking? I'm just trying to make sure we're covering the bases.
For sure. There's a couple of things when it comes to graffiti that I've been noticing, and I think taking a look at how it's being used, I'd be interested to see how many downtown businesses have been using the program. Is it convenient for them to use? Some of the feedback we get is it is challenging, so I think maybe going through that process and seeing if there's an opportunity there. In regards to the amount, graffiti can happen often, it can be expensive. So I think being able to look at the amount that's being provided is a great idea as well. And then considering, is there opportunity to have financial incentives for other things like broken windows or other vandalism that might be coming up as well?
Right. Do you know of any, because we are obviously talking about lots of things tonight, but do you know of any other BIAs where they're working with their municipality with regards to other kinds of things like security, like businesses having to purchase security equipment or install, more detailed doors and things like that? Are there other municipalities that are working with their BIA and in a fund in some way with that?
I am absolutely positive that is an issue other Main Streets and BIAs are dealing with. I offhand don't have examples of a specific BIA for that particular
Okay.
answer.
No, that's great. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. Dodge, for the presentation. Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive the delegation from Kat Dodge? Councillor Harris, Councillor Lindell, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Can I get a councillor to move the recommendation in the report? Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Miller. Are there any speakers? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few questions on this. So we hire these new bylaw officers. Are they operating, working during the day? Is this a 9-to-5 position? Because a lot of the issues that I think when it comes to these vacant buildings, a lot of the challenges happen late at night. At nighttime, we saw it recently, and Councillor Mako brought it up tonight in Port Dalhousie. Things are happening at odd hours. So what is the anticipated hours of these bylaw officers' work?
Mr. Chidoba?
Through the chair to the councillor, the reality is we can't do property standards in the dark. So when it comes to the times of the day, the primary function here is going to be during daytime hours. For incidents where it sounds like mischief is occurring, this is more of a police matter and should be going to them for that type of follow-up, councillor.
Oh, boom, thank you. So through you, Mr. Mayor, and that is where my concern comes is, so we're gonna spend $500,000 on this when in reality, we should be having more of a police presence. I know the chief was here a few weeks ago. I'd like to see more police presence in the downtown to address these issues. My concern here is, and I understand why this is being discussed tonight, but we're looking at $500,000 of cost. And, I'm looking at these fines. So penalty one, $500 for someone not being able to secure their building from an unauthorized entry. And it's, I look at the YMCA building, and that building has to keep being resecured time and time again because people keep breaking into these facilities. We are seeing this across the city. So to penalize these building owners who own the building and have them keep, being fined. I have concerns over that because some of these downtown businesses and building owners are struggling in the downtown right now. We are risking adding additional costs and fees to these building owners, and I get that we have seen incidents recently in the downtown that, we look at the old Standard building, it's concerning, of course, but I don't think this is the way forward, in my opinion. And I'm also not really comfortable with the costs that are associated, $500,000. And so we're gonna have daytime bylaw officers just looking at these buildings for people who might be living in them. The reality is people aren't living in these buildings during the day. They're finding space at night. That's what's happening. It's a waste of money. I won't be supporting this. I think there's a better way forward, and I think, Mr. Mayor, I believe you invited the police chief last week. He's heard us loud and clear. There are discussions on having more police presence in the downtown. I think that's the way forward, but I don't think a $500,000 cost for this pilot project is something we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, I'm just wondering if this is to pass this evening. Does this mean that it will give some relief to the bylaw officers in downtown, and they will be able to work in other areas of the city so that we have a little more enforcement other places?
So through the chair to the councillor, if it were to go tomorrow, or start tomorrow, we would take current resource to deploy into the downtown core right away. It would alleviate the rest of the operations, but we would then have to be in the position of hiring the staff and going through that process, which would take time, including getting them up and ready and trained and uniformed and all those other matters. That could take a few months, up to about 5 months to get from start to finish, but the resource deployment would go right away to downtown.
So the rest of the city would be without some sort of bylaw enforcement for 5 months? Is that, am I clear on that? And so that you can get uniforms and whatever running and stuff like that? It's going to be 5 months?
So through the chair to the councillor, not necessarily. The plan is to concentrate a certain patrol area, and then all the other areas would still have their assigned resource. It would be a bit of a struggle for the startup, so to speak. It would be front-loaded, but then would level out.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Chidoba. Could you explain the boundary for this area of the staff person? Because I think it's not just, I think we think it's maybe just the downtown, but could you explain where the boundaries are for this new staff person?
Through the chair to the councillor. So the city's official plan defines a certain downtown boundary as it is. It's actually a little more constrained than the full gambit of that, so to speak. The best way for me to describe it in the grid part of the system is the city's based on a grid, and it would be J7, J8, K7, and K8 based on that grid. So it's a small concentration, which is primarily downtown core and then surrounding area.
Okay, so does it just, because I appreciate you sending me the map, so it kind of goes from, I'm going to make some generalizations here, but just to give us scope of size, it's kind of going from Ontario Street to Tasker. Is that kind of the... And then it's going to include some of Meriton as well, like in the height of it, going from like the 406 to Welland Avenue kind of thing, or further than Welland Avenue?
Through the chair to the councillor, the map that was provided to you indicated a boundary that Geneva, Rayson McGuire, Cherry Street, Duke Street, Raymond Street, North Street.
Okay, so that would be the map that was highlighted kind of thing? Okay. And then, because there was another map that had the, like the squares, and it looked like it was a bit larger than that even?
Through the mayor to the councillor. So the secondary highlighted area, that'll be an area of proactive enforcement.
Okay.
So whenever an officer is on the property for a concern, they will then do additional property standards.
Okay. And can you just talk about how many calls the downtown has received? I know it was in the report, but I think it's important to note how many bylaw issues there are, because it's not just vacant buildings that this is addressing, it's also addressing property standards and other issues, correct?
Through the mayor to the council, yes, that's correct. I will also state that we are seeing an overall increased amount of property standards complaints in the city. If you compare to where we are right now to last year, we're up 30% just for property standards complaint violations as it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kushner.
I'll save my comments when the motion is made, Mr. Mayor. Oh, it is made.
It is made, yes, Councillor.
Yeah, well, this sounds like a repetition of the city's proposal to designate the downtown as a historical district, with the landowners, residents objecting to possible additional costs. And I don't think they can afford additional costs, additional responsibilities, as they've indicated. They clean up their building and it's vandalized the next day, and then they're subject to a fine. That's an extreme case, of course, but I agree with Councillor Townsend. It's very costly, and I think it's somewhat imposing on the business people who have been there for generations and are doing the best they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be supporting this. I don't think this is needed at this time when we're trying to encourage development downtown. And I think the good landlords are securing their property. And this is going to, I think this is going to feel predatory to them, that bylaw will be going out and, you know, checking their property every day. And like, I mean, they have jobs and other things to do. They can't go down and recheck their property every single day to make sure nobody's tried to break in. And if we're there with a bylaw slapping them with a fine every day, every second day, every third day, and the guy goes like, there's no end to the cost. And I think it's just, it's not needed this now. We need to do something. This isn't it. The other thing is, this is really feeling really proactive that we're going to go after everybody. And we did that with our Airbnb bylaw, that we were proactive, and then we decided to change that, and we went reactive. So I think the same thing, go on complaint base, and I think the majority of these landlords, especially ones that live in the city, are trying to take care of their property. It's the out-of-towners that probably aren't as good as our local landlords. And there's other things to do, and I think this now, because we have one person, that's their main job every day to go around. I think they're just going to be keep hitting the same businesses with cost. And you know, I go put plywood up on the door, and you know, homeless guy or whoever wrecks the next day, and these guys are the bylaws there in the morning before I can have a chance to fix it. It's going to be a nightmare. They're going to come back here trying to argue. It's just not a good thing right now, I think.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Miller.
Yeah, thank you. So just to, I guess, for clarification, so someone who is found in violation of parts of this bylaw, are they fined immediately? Is that sort of what it sounds like?
So through the chair to the councillor, typically, no. There is a process involved where the investigation happens and people are spoken to or provided with documentation about deficiencies in a prescription of what they need to do to fix problems. So for the most part, that's the process. The penalties happen when there's non-compliance or no engagement, or the cessation of engagement, and that's when these things start to happen.
Okay, so someone's given an opportunity to rectify the violation. They're not just fined the next day, or even they're given multiple days to comply with the order?
So through the chair to the councillor, for first-time offenses, definitely, for this type of what we're talking about here. For repeat occurrences, though, there is a process involved that if there's a property that consistently has waste issues and they've already received an order, we've spoken to them before, then they would receive a penalty as well as the order because the repeat offense.
Okay, that sounds pretty reasonable to me. I just want to go over what this bylaw is saying is that property owners should ensure the building is secured against unauthorized entry, take active measures to ensure that no unauthorized persons occupying the building, maintain insurance, and comply with things like the fire code and building code and this bylaw. I'm not sure what's controversial about any of those things. As a property owner, that is your responsibility, I think. I think any reasonable person would think those were already your responsibilities. And it's interesting, just earlier tonight I was asked, or someone rhetorically asked, why a place like St. Catharines or Niagara doesn't prosper more despite all of its natural advantages. And I think one of the reasons is that vacant lands provide no value to a city, and that we have suffered for a long time from a scourge of speculators, of landlords, of real estate speculation that allows properties to sit vacant and increase in value as real estate market value went up and up and up and through the roof, while contributing little in return to its community, contributing almost nothing in return. Again, I think these responsibilities are basic. I think if property owners can't meet these basic responsibilities, they should consider selling these properties to someone who might actually do something with them and provide value to the community that they are in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ratzlaff.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, just to staff, some of the comments tonight, maybe double check what I had read here, but like we're just talking about vacant properties in the downtown core. Is that correct?
Through the mayor to the councillor. No, this is for all vacant buildings in the city.
Yeah, but we're talking about hiring an officer. Sorry, there's two things. Yeah, I'm referring to the dedicated downtown bylaw officer, right? Yeah. So the dedicated bylaw officer in the downtown, when they're looking at, they are just looking at the vacant buildings. Is that correct?
Through the chair to the councillor, no. So they will be responsible for all property standards in the downtown area. Yeah. They will respond to all complaints from the public and address them accordingly.
Yeah, okay. That was where the confusion laid, so I appreciate clearing that up. Just piggybacking on what Councillor Miller was saying about the vacant properties in our downtown core specifically, I don't think it's just a detriment to the property tax base. It's also a detriment to businesses. I've talked to a lot of business owners who will walk me outside their store and point to the vacant property beside them or across the street and say, look, if there was a business in that unit, we'd be doing better. In fact, the entire downtown would be doing better. And so when we do have these vacant properties in and around the entire city, it's a problem for those who are squatting in them. It's a danger for them if it's not secured, but it's also a problem for the businesses that are who have invested a tremendous amount of money, invested their livelihoods into those small businesses. You have out-of-town landlords who are extracting wealth from our community and giving back very little. To expect them to to expect the properties to be secured and, maintain basic standards of garbage removal and boarding up windows that are broken, making sure there aren't people who are starting fires in the building. I don't think that's unreasonable. And I think it's something that will benefit not only residents, but also all of the businesses who are suffering because of those vacant units that are not bringing customers downtown and, in fact, attracting the type of behavior that we don't want to see in our downtown core. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, with the downtown by law enforcement officers, obviously out in the wards, property standards complaints, they are based on a complaint basis. With this new position, is it going to be complaint basis, or is it going to be a walk around every day?
So through his worship to the councillor, the officer is going to be visible in the community, regardless, they will be in that area, but they will be responding to complaints specifically. Then when they're on the property, they will be looking at all other property standards matters with the exception of zoning. So they'll be looking at grass weeds, waste, broken windows, spalling brick, all of those types of things.
But they won't necessarily, if they don't have a complaint registered and they're driving down the street and they see something wrong with the place, they won't be stopping and issuing an order?
Through the chair to the councillor, the only way they would stop is if there would be a glaring safety issue of something that a 14-foot icicle hanging over a sidewalk or something off a building, then of course they'll put the brakes on. Outside of that, it'll be complaint-based.
Well, personally, I think it's a situation in this case where it shouldn't be complaint-based necessarily. It should be a bylaw enforcement officer actively pursuing these vacant properties if we're going to do this, because it definitely needs to be cleaned up. I mean, in the old days, it used to be the first thing property owners did was, before they even opened their stores, they go and sweep the street in front of their house or in front of their store to make it look good. Now I know if it's vacant, you're not going to have somebody doing that. But my second question is, what exactly are, when you come to property standards for a store, for a vacant property, what elements are the bylaw enforcement officers going to be looking for in order to issue a complaint?
Through his worship to the councillor, so just to clarify, councillor, this is an officer receives a complaint and attends a property, and you want to understand the process from there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I could definitely answer that. So should a complaint be received for any matter, the officer would attend the property, follow normal process, try and engage property owner, conduct the property inspection, and they will look at anything to do with clean yards. So they'll look at waste, long grass, weeds, property standards that addresses the building itself for any deficiencies that are observed. That could be broken windows, spalling brick, graffiti, all of those things that they would come across. And they will issue orders for compliance to remedy the issue as necessary.
And to follow up with Councillor Miller's question, how much time is a property owner given, say, if there's a broken window to get it replaced, or whatever the complaint is? Is it 2 days, a week?
So through his worship to the councillor, there are different timelines prescribed for different types of offenses. So if it's, for example, you described the broken window, it falls under property standards, which is under the Ontario Building Code Act, which has a minimum prescribed standard of 14 days plus 5 days for mailing for a total of 19, plus an appeal process that's built into that too. So we typically go with 21 days for compliance for a property standards issue versus long grass and weeds, where the standard is 3 days. Waste, the standard is 1 week. So it can all depend on the type of issue. If it's a glaring safety issue, then it's immediate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mako.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, I'm wondering if you could comment on the addition of the staff positions versus the creation of the new vacant building security bylaw? Do they need to be connected, or could those two be considered differently? Using the hypothetical example of the jailhouse and the Lincoln Fabrics situation, if we had this bylaw in place, even without those additional staff positions, would what have happened potentially have been different?
So through the chair to the councillor, the staffing resource, the vacant building security bylaw is actually taking us out of the property standards bylaw, as I was describing to Councillor Phillips just recently. And because we're truncating the timeline significantly, we're going down to 1 to 2 days for compliance, potentially up to 7. With that requires frequent inspections and more rapid response for follow-up. And based on our current existing operational staff right now, that's not something that we have capacity to take on. I guess it's part of an efficiency triangle of good, fast, and cheap, and you have to pick two. And when it comes down to it, we're at our capacity, and this is why the staff ask comes along with that.
Understood. So there wouldn't be value in your view of separating these out and approving the bylaw without approving the additional staff?
Through the chair to the councillor, correct.
I'm just going to turn it over to the deputy CAO who wanted to add to that one.
Through you, Mayor, to the councillor. We did look at other options for council's consideration should the resource ask be a concern. One of the options was, because it can't be taken on by bylaw enforcement in addition to everything that's going on. So there was a menu provided within the context of the report of existing bylaw enforcement that could cease. Or there was a 1-year option for vacant buildings only without the addition of downtown resourcing to be administered through fire prevention.
Thank
I hope
you.
that's helpful.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lindell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, my first question is, I want to add on to Councillor Miller's question. So the bylaw officer comes and tells someone that they have to comply. They're given 3 days. After 3 days, they comply. But that night, someone breaks into their building again, and they're out of town, bylaw officer goes by, and now this is a second offense. Are these things going to be taken into consideration with the bylaw officer? Because downtown is so volatile. Like, I can say, today I've complied, but in 3 days, through no fault of my own, somebody's already broken through.
So through the chair to the councillor, there is really only so much that we can do. And if that is happening, it is also somebody inside a building where they shouldn't be. And could potentially be putting risk to neighboring buildings which may be occupied. So we have to balance that out with the level of enforcement that we would apply. If a penalty was issued, there's appeal processes in place for those penalties. And the person can say, here's the proof, I had a contractor, they showed up that day, here's the invoice, and then the next day is when the officer showed up and it was breached again. That would all get evaluated and weighed in an adjudication. Where it would not be able to be weighed is if we had to take enforcement action by remedial work, meaning boarding it up. But before we did that, we would be communicating with the property owner to say, we have a breach here, what's going on? Because it needs to be boarded up right away because there may be people inside.
So my concern is that most of the breaches happen at night or on the weekend. And a business owner on a Sunday may not know that his property has been breached until maybe the next day or a day later. They've already registered as a vacant building. Now somebody's breached their building and they've breached it again. And this seems more punitive to the business owner than it does being effective. And I feel we're kind of going in a knee-jerk reaction because of some of the things that have happened downtown. And I think I would like to see more consultation and discussion on this bylaw and a little bit, I don't know, less punitive. So I'm going to vote no.
Right, seeing no other questions or comments, I'm going to just jump in momentarily. I think it's probably important just to remind council of some of the context. Back over the Christmas holidays, when the number of buildings in the downtown core burned down, a lot of people were asking, what should we do? What can we do? And the response was that this was coming forward and that this might be an option. And that seemed to be what council was sort of driving towards. I don't disagree with some of the comments that have been made. I appreciate the context that Mr. Trudeau was given. The one other thing I'll remind councillors of, though, when we were discussing the public space use bylaw, some of the information that we got back at the time indicated that we don't have enough bylaw enforcement officials just in general. When we were compared to other municipalities, I think at best we had about half of the number of bylaw enforcement officials that our comparator municipalities had. In some cases, we had less than half. So additional bylaw enforcement officers, I think, makes sense. In this particular context, you know, in this particular proposal, there's no impact to the tax levy. The dollars have been found in other places as a pilot project. So it would give council the opportunity to put it in place without impacting the tax base, determine whether it's made a positive difference or not, and then make the decision at that point whether they want to pull it back or whether they want to continue with it. So I wanted to provide that additional context. I do have Councillor Harris, but I have Councillor Williamson first, because Councillor Williamson, I don't believe, has spoken yet.
What I'm planning to do is to refer, because of the questions that we have from council.
So actually, I'm going to apologize. I hear you, but I don't think, Councillor Harris did not speak. You're correct.
Okay, sure.
Well, I've had, Councillor Harris, do you have a question you want to ask that might be relevant before the referral? Okay, so Councillor Harris, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager of bylaw enforcement. You mentioned something about the fires and stuff. How would this actually have stopped those fires, or the fire at the Standard building?
So through the chair to the councillor, I wouldn't speak to a specific building, but what I can say is all of these are, and risk mitigation is really what the focus is. We can never really 100% stop anything, but we can definitely make efforts towards trying to make it not happen. More importantly, having property owners monitor their properties more frequently, and if they are being breached, to enhance their security measures to prevent further breaches from happening. If the boards are being pulled off, then look at other methods, look at other ways to keep people out.
So in your opinion, something like this might mitigate risk for buildings like the Standard catching on fire and burning down, even though it was monitored 24 hours a day?
Councillor, we're not going to argue with staff. I think that Mr. Trudeau was given his opinion. You clearly don't share it, and that's fair, and you're allowed to make that statement if you'd like.
I guess then if this is going to be referred, perhaps one of the things that could be added in it is there are other options for bylaw enforcement, like commissioners or the fire department for vacant building security bylaw, that kind of stuff. So, okay.
So, Councillor Williamson, you were going to make a motion to refer, and are you asking for additional information to come back? I know Councillor Harris has asked for some.
Yes, and to respond to the discussion that's happened tonight, as well as, I think it's important to include the police in this because we need them to step up here.
Okay. So a motion to refer, non-debatable. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Moving on to item number 11. Moving the motion, I have Councillor Miller. Seconding the motion, I have Councillor Harris. The motion is up on the screen. Does anybody wish to speak to this one? All right. Seeing no hands, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Harris.
On the shed is off.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Mako. Yes. Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
That's carried.
No, are there any notices of motion? Seeing none. No report requests this evening. Committee and task force minutes to receive. Oh. All right, Councillor Williamson.
Thank you. Every 3 or 4 months, I make this request, an update on Regional Road 87, Main Street, Lakeport Road, Lock Street. I sent a message and didn't get a response, so appreciate it if we could get something on that sometime soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just along the lines of what Councillor Williams is saying, Councillor Stevens and I have been getting a lot of emails and calls regarding Leaside Drive. I'm wondering if, if staff could take that as a direction to, there's a lot of potholes, there's some issues on it. I know they've also reached out to your office as well, so I'm wondering if we could maybe have staff go down and just have a look at the condition of it to address some of the big, large holes on the street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing no others, can I have a mover and a seconder to file the minutes? Councillor Miller, Councillor Stevens. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And I will look to the clerk to read the reason for going into closed session.
So the item from the agenda is from Realty Services. It's a property matter, acquisition of Port Weller East Park and Jones Beach, acquisition of and use of Parkland Dedication Reserve Fund, closed session pursuant to Municipal Act Section 239(2)C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality. And then the request from Councillor is in response to the April 9th Council correspondence listing items 6.1 and 6.2. And that request was under Municipal Act Section 239(2)E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality. And Section 239(2)F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Do I have a mover and a seconder to go in camera? Councillor Dodge, Councillor Harris, all those in favor? Opposed? In we go. Development and Tourism Services, Realty Services, Property Matter Acquisition of Port Weller East Park and Jones Beach Acquisition and Use of Parkland Dedication Reserve Fund. Moving the motion, I have Councillor Dodge. Seconding, I have Councillor Phillips. I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Hare. Councillor Miller.
A hearty yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
And Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
That's carried.
Item 16.2 is, what did we call this? Information,
Councillor request.
Councillor request for communication. This is received for information. Moving this, I have Councillor Townsend, seconding it to Councillor Phillips. To the clerk.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge. Yes. Councillor Williamson. Yes. Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff. Yes. Councillor Miller.
No.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
And Mayor Cisco.
Yes. Bylaws, can I have a mover and a seconder for bylaws A to L to be read a first time, considered and passed? Save and accept. J and K. Councillor Lindell, Councillor McPherson, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Additional bylaw A, can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Stevens. Seconder? Councillor Lindell.
So moved.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor McPherson, Councillor Lindell, all those in favor? Opposed? Good night.